Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. It's Record-ology live for the first time in a long time. Now, if you're wondering why there's this awkward pause right before I say, hey everybody, it's because the countdown thing isn't quite accurate. So when you're a creator and you're hitting the live button and it's like, ready to go live, and they count 3, 2, 1, and then it hesitates and says, you're live. Well, it's always not quite right. So there's always this awkward moment. Hey everybody! So anyway, we're here now. We are live. If you're missing this live and you're watching the replay, hopefully it'll be just an entertaining video for you to watch. That's what we try to do. We try to make it what they call evergreen, where it doesn't matter when and where you watch it. So welcome. For everybody that is jumping into the live, welcome as well. Super Prince, welcome in. Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. I am on many conference calls during the work week where there are literally people from all over the globe, and that's often how we'll greet people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever, good day. And it's really hard to, when you work for a global organization, it's really hard to schedule meetings when teams are dispersed globally, because you're going to make somebody mad. You're going to, somebody's inevitably not going to like whenever the call is scheduled. So it's like, how can I upset the fewest amount of people? Welcome in, everybody. Thumbs up on the way in the door if you don't mind. Tim, welcome in. Good evening, old radios. Mark Covington. I'm blessed, Mark. I am very blessed. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys today. And a lot has happened since we last got together, not just in a live, but in any video, except for shorts, really. It's been a while. Old radios, welcome in. I think I already welcomed you, but welcome in. Joseph, welcome in. Yes. Wow, what a situation. Florida obviously got hammered by Milton. We had a trip planned last week to Denver, my hometown, and that's where we were. It wasn't because of the hurricane. It just was already on the schedule for months, and it just timed out that way. We did have to ratchet the outbound flight about 24 hours earlier to avoid the airport shutting down here in Orlando. We were running errands today, and our first day back, and is really interesting because we got to see the after effects. Now, it's been a few days, 4 days since the worst of it, and we drove into Tampa. Poor Tampa Bay, and there so many people impacted. So yeah, constant prayer for everybody impacted by this, the last hurricane as well on both coasts, and it's just been all up and down the eastern seaboard from the other one. It's just been it's crazy. Now, being a Colorado native, this is kind of not my first rodeo. I think this is the third or fourth hurricane that we've been through since moving down here from Colorado. But it was definitely the most intense one to come back and see, the aftermath. So in this area, sort of Orlando area, there are signs of things happening. Some trees down, a lot of leaves and debris and things. There were uprooted trees. There, was palm trees especially are pretty much a grass with no root system, so they flop over. But we drove into Tampa today. And boy, the Tampa Bay Rays, Tropicana Field, the roof was ripped off. We were at the last Tampa Bay Rays home game. So the last game at the Trop. And that's a beautiful stadium. They're replacing it, which I personally think is kind of a bummer. It's a beautiful stadium. And then I think the Mid-Florida Amphitheater, I'm not sure what it's called, it also had a tarp roof that was ripped off. But people's lives are still, it's out of the news now. The news cycle is kind of ebbed and flowed, but just being there, the flooding is still happening. Not like, we didn't, where we went in Tampa, I should preface it by saying what we experienced. You weren't seeing like flooded streets and stuff, but a lot more uprooted trees, a lot of metal road signs just like crumpled up and flown off the road. Almost all of the billboards, which are stretched fabric type, were shredded up in just tatters. Just none of the fabric billboards were left. The digital screen ones and rigid ones were left, but it was crazy. There was a lot of damage. It's going to be weeks and months before it's all cleaned up. A lot of people without power still. Flooding is happening. So, it was amazing. A lot of opportunities, for prayer as you drive down the road and see all this stuff. But we were blessed. We got to spend a lovely week back in Denver, visiting family, and it was really, really good. So I will say this though, boy, am I thankful to live here. Well, we are both just so thankful and blessed to live here. And home is home, and it's comfortable, and it's heartwarming, and it's home, and people we love are there. But here, this place is it's crazy beautiful. It's crazy. It smells tropical. It's just wonderful. So we're very thankful for it. So anyway, that's what we've been up to. Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been, and I heard there's a cold front pushing through Florida over the next week, so that should keep systems from developing. But I don't really know about that stuff. All I know is what other people say. But yeah, thank you for thinking of us. A lot of people hit us up in comments and things, and I got some emails from people too checking on us, and I'm just very grateful for you guys thinking of us. Absolutely. Happy Thursday, Jaden. Welcome in from Canada. That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, everybody that we know personally here locally was okay, and it makes a big difference if you live in a city or a community that has underground power grid. That sort of seems to be the tipping point in terms of whether or not you lose power. But yeah, we did pretty dang good. Oh yeah, the tornadoes, and I know people in other parts of the state that just don't make the news, but they even felt the impacts. They absolutely did as well. Joseph says the deadliest part of that storm was the numerous, yeah, exact tornadoes. Yeah, exactly. Just incredible. Absolutely. Thank you, Super Prince. Really much appreciate the prayers. A lot of people in need. We're fine. So thank you for thinking of us. And I feel like the people that live down here, and you see a lot of, if you like Instagram Reels or TikTok videos or YouTube Shorts, you'll see a lot of funny videos talking about, Florida residents are, sort of, rugged and equipped for this. And I would agree, because, infrastructure is designed to withstand these things, and the people are rugged as well, and they're smart, and there's a lot of info sharing between neighbors within communities of people saying, okay, make sure you do this and do that. And, we certainly learned a lot that way as well. There's a Miami carnival going on. Interesting. Hey, Ralph, glad you made it, man. Steve says cold front pushing through Virginia as well. I'll tell you what, the air in Colorado, oh gosh, it was so good. It's so crisp and dry and clean. Actually, the air there is not as clean as here. The air quality index, as an asthmatic, I'm hypersensitive to air impurities. And as soon as I got back there, I was coughing. I'm pointing, like literally, that is the way of Colorado. That's that way. But yeah, it was really, really bizarre to taste and smell the air there. And at night, especially, we went on some hikes and things, some mountainous areas, and it's good for the soul. It's good for the soul. And I really want to have, sort of a taste, not literally, but an experience of, Colorado Christmas era snow. I don't care for snow as much after Christmas, but up to Christmas and at Christmas, I really like it. So yeah, I did do some picking and some hauling a little bit, not a huge amount by any means, but I did bring the haul to share with you guys. Absolutely. And kind of tell you, things that I saw and the experience from the sort of the Record-ology, if I put my Record-ology hat on, kind of that perspective. Ivy Poison says, always something happening in Florida. Best wish solved. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. It's never dull. It's never dull here. Old Radio's found an Arvin record player today. No capacitor hum, surprisingly. Wow. I've been working behind the scenes on my 1947 Bing Crosby Philco. I think you'll be interested to see what I did with it. I've been filming little blips to put together, and I think I'm going to do one more update video. I decided to make sort of a paramount shift in my approach to that. So if you've been following that, you'll have to, I don't know when that's, probably within, hopefully in the next 2-3 weeks max, that I'm finishing that up, because I'm sort of burning out on that project, and I don't want it just laying around half finished. I want to get it done in a usable way. And I've been really doing a lot of, I don't want to say soul searching because it's not that serious, but I'm doing a lot of thinking about, what do I want the end product to be? You know what I mean? How is it going to be something that I will actually use? Balancing that with an authentic refurb or not. So stay tuned for that. Jaden says there's a Brenda Lee rocking around the Christmas tree 7-inch selling right now on Amazon. Oh, cool. That's cool. That's a timeless clock. I'm about to, I mean, you know what I mean? Mariah Carey may thaw out a little bit earlier in this place than other places around the world, because I love Christmas music. I'll listen to it year round, unashamedly. You know, I will get the eye roll from family, because it's like, come on, wait, you know, this is way too early, but it's never, it's, you know what I mean? I'll be listening to Christmas music in March, November, whatever, you know, in June, July. So, but once Halloween is over, it's sort of no holds barred. It will go into full Christmas mode. My wife would not let me put the Christmas tree up that soon. We have a semi-serious running gag that I have a decorating permit for Christmas decorations for the house, inside and outside, that goes into effect the day after Thanksgiving and expires on New Year's Day. And sort of that's the time frame that we usually do decorate. Now, I know there's people, super Christmas, you know, aficionados, that will want that tree up year round, and people do that, or even longer periods of time. But I feel like there's something about, if you had it up so much, it would sort of dilute the experience to make it less special, I think, at least for me. So having the limited parameter thing, I think it actually helps. Christmas music, though, I'm not going to, you know, and books and things, you know, whatever. I'm in the Christmas mood in May, I'm going to, you know, enjoy it. But decorations, that's where I have to draw the line. But yeah, that's just that. There you go. Speaking of cool Christmas records, though, I've got my eye on a Bing Crosby Merry Christmas picture disc that's on Amazon right now, and it's like $15 or something. And I've got a whole collection of that album on every format known to man. So having the picture disc would be cool. I might have to snag that. Absolutely. So thanks for the tip on the Brenda Lee. Joseph says, I just got some new additions to my record collection yesterday. Congratulations. I got a bunch of Christmas albums. See, I'm not the only one thinking about this. At my local thrift store, it's $1 each. 13 albums. That's great. And if you got a thrift store that's still selling for $1 each, more power to you. That's great. Old radios. I didn't buy any record players because I'm importing Super 8 camera from Germany. Wow, that sounds cool. Oh, I see what you mean, old radios. STP World. Still love that username. That's so cool. My dad always tells me about how he used to collect those STP stickers as a teenager and have them sort of plastered everywhere around his room and, you know, notebooks and things. There's a record store in Pennsylvania that's been there since 1910. Wow, survived the Depression. You should check it out. I will definitely do that. One thing that's really fun about traveling is if you have the opportunity to go to another city or a different area, and this could even be within your, you know, place where you could drive to on a weekend, but certainly if you fly somewhere, is checking out the record shops. You know, that's awesome. Steve says, been to Colorado many times skiing. Oh, I used to love skiing. I used to, you know, my friend and I, we would do it on the, we would go for these weekend trips, and it was some great memories. Absolutely. We would borrow, at the time, you know, we were like, 16, 17, and we didn't have anything that could handle the mountain roads, you know, as far as a car. So we'd borrow our dad's, his dad's 4x4. He had a Blazer, I think, or my dad's vehicle, you know, or something, to drive up there, listen to music up and down. Just a great time. Joseph says, if you're ever up here in Pennsylvania, make sure to come to Johnstown and visit the George's Song Shop. It's the country's oldest record shop. That's what you're talking about. That's so cool. Already got tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. We finally did that. We finally did, after years of saying we were going to do it. We finally did that about 5 years ago, I think, 4 or 5 years ago in Denver. We saw them. It was very cool, very weird. It was different than I expected. It was, if you're a rock music fan, it was 90% rock and 10% orchestra. And the song that is on repeat during the holidays, the Christmas Eve and Other Stories or something, I forget what it's called, but the one that everybody knows, that was my favorite song that they did, and they did it perfectly. But it's not all like that. That's not what the whole thing is like. It's real. If you're a rock and roll aficionado and you like a rock concert, you would be surprisingly having a blast there. But it was cool. Subprint says, what's new in the vinyl community? So I get this vinyl weight. I have no idea what it does. However, it was Amazon Prime Days last week, and I bought it. Did I miss Prime Days this time around? It seems like every other weekend is Prime Days. I need to know more about it. So if it's just a straight record weight, I don't personally use record weights that often. I've got one. I've reviewed a few of them. I've kept one. If you've got a warped record, usually the warpage is on the edge, so putting a weight in the middle isn't going to do that much. Some people feel that by adding that weight, you're sort of bonding the record and the platter material together. So if you have, say, an acrylic platter mat or platter, whatever, and a vinyl record, and there's going to be a certain amount of adhesion just from the weight of the record, enough for it to play and operate properly. But let's say and this is, I think, the idea is that in theory, if you put that record weight on and there's more adhesion, more weight, more pressure between the two, that the vinyl record will take more of the sonic principles or properties, I should say, of the whatever the platter mat material is. And so yeah, you see them in high-end record machines. It looks cool. Concern in direct drives, no problem whatsoever. But I've heard that belt drive turntables, if it has a weaker motor, it can weaken it over time. Like everything in this hobby, there are people that dispel that, say, oh no, it doesn't matter. You can put a weight on anything. I sure wouldn't personally put it on anything like a suitcase player or an all-in-one or anything that's like a Skywind type of mechanism. I wouldn't even put a platter mat on something like that. That would just be pointless. It really, really would. And if you've got a system with small speakers, I wouldn't even do it on a bigger system. I would, if you had if you were really into the hi-fi, the sound quality, you got nice speakers, you got a big setup, otherwise you just think it looks cool. Now, the other route when it comes to those are record clamps, and I'm looking over there because I've got one somewhere. It's kind of the same idea. It sits there right on the middle, but it can kind of clamp down and apply pressure like that. But it itself isn't heavy, so it doesn't put as much strain on the motor. That being said, if you were to take the entire sound quality experience of vinyl and put it on a scale of 0 to 100, the quality improvements from that, even if you had the speakers and the cartridge and everything was, able to realize any difference, that difference would be so minute. It would be 0.00 percentages. It's just, and of course there'll be guys out there, oh no, it's absolutely day or night. I could tell by listening. And everybody has the golden ear, right? They're like, and it comes to, I was watching this channel, commented on it earlier. Great YouTube channel. I've posted links of his on there before. He was talking about record cleaning solutions. And, when it comes to anything within vinyl records, everybody's got the right way. Oh no, they're all wrong. I'll tell you the right way to do it. I make a very concerted effort to be like, this is what I do. This is my opinion. I'm not imposing it on you. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. This is what I do. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we're talking about pieces of plastic spinning around, dragging a needle through it because it sounds cool. And it's not that serious. You know what I mean? If you've been through any life struggle, and I hope you haven't, but once you go through something and it's like a life event, who cares? Who cares? You know what I mean? It's just having fun. People get incredibly passionate. Let's say passionate about it. All right. And I have fallen deeply behind in comments. So we're on brand. We're having fun tonight. If you're just joining us, or if you joined since I've said this last, thank you for joining. Welcome in. Old Radio says 1910 to Great Depression is the era he is looking for. Joseph says, if you're ever up here in Pennsylvania, make sure you can. Oh, yeah, I already saw that. Scott, welcome in, my friend. Hey, I'll take Christmas music on cassette, LPs, any way you want to go. You really know your camera's old radios. I'm serious. I'm thinking old cameras. I'm sure you know radios just as well, but the cameras seem to be the number one thing for you. Oh, put a cassette deck in a 2015 car. I know a guy who put an 8-track in his 20. I don't know, it was like a within the last 5-year-old car. Put an 8-track player in there just because he could. Yeah, North Carolina did get hit pretty hard. Scott, welcome in again, my friend. Yeah, that would. They're definitely progressive metal. I think that's a great designation. Mannheim Steamroller Christmas. I love how you guys talk about Christmas night. I love Mannheim Steamroller. I would love to see that. Do they still tour? I think they do. But yeah, the Mannheim Steamroller stuff. And I've got this Save the Tigers. I've had it on the show years ago. Record. It's a Mannheim Steamroller non-Christmas record. It's really cool too. The whole story about Mannheim Steamroller and how they American Gramophone Records and all that is fascinating. Tim, yes, talked about that earlier on. We were out of state, back home now, but we had a previously scheduled trip. Did go down into Tampa Bay. Actually, well, yeah, it was Tampa. Um, that's sort of a nebulous term because you've got St. Petersburg. You've got sort of a lot of territory in that area, and a lot of people didn't fare so well. So a lot of prayers for everybody impacted. Coldplay. I've been sort of building up this list of like 9. I think I told you guys like I've gone through this weird midlife crisis thing. My wife says I've been in a midlife crisis since I was about 25. But in terms of music, like I was listening. I've been a geek my whole life, and I was listening to not cool music proudly since at least high school and probably way before that as well. I did go through phases. I went, if you can believe it, I went through a metal phase, hardcore rap phase, and there's a whole story about why But anyway, I've been sort of putting together a playlist of music that was popular, and I have sort of this secondhand nostalgia for now because if I was in a friend's car, just at school or whatever, hearing this certain music, has now become very nostalgic to me, even though at the time it wasn't my favorite. Bands like 311, uh, Weezer, even like Rage Against the Machine, and I'm not condoning or saying that this is good or whatever, and you know, but at the same time, it's strange to kind of. I never really I wasn't a huge Smashing Pumpkins person. Nirvana, there's some songs that I feel like are really well done, and a lot of people. I remember in junior high were very passionate about it, and definitely there's some nostalgia there. So I went through a phase of that, and Stone Temple Pilots. I remember it was the album Purple or something, I forget, but the one with like the kind of Chinese looking imagery on the front. I remember my friend and I each had a copy of that and on CD. And I remember listening to it. In our basement we had a computer with a CD-ROM, and it was, to me it was cool to listen to CDs on the CD-ROM. I know that's how bad off I was. And I'm sitting there working on something else on our dial-up internet connection, and this is 486 or whatever it was. And I remember as the last song played through, another song playing, and I realized I had come across my first secret track. That album had a certain number of songs listed on the back, but there was actually one more song. If you played through the last song, bit of silence, and then another song started up. I remember calling him. I'm like, "Hey, check this out! There's a secret track on here." That was really fun, really, really fun. Anyway, so sort of got this secondhand nostalgia for some of that stuff, and been putting together like an Apple Music playlist. I thought, do I really want to buy the records and CDs though? Do I need that, or would I be satisfied just with the streaming playlist? One exception, and just because I happened upon it at some point, is I do have the Weezer Blue album, and I bought this, a year or two ago. I came across it. I forget how maybe it was in one of those blind. Every once in a while, we'll do some of those bundles where you buy a mystery bag of 100 CDs for $20 or something like that. It might have been in there, and I had this. I actually got this from a BMG music catalog thing, kind of like the Columbia music. And I remember picking that out. And my dad thought it was hilarious that the band was called Weezer because I, again, was an asthmatic. So still am. I wish I could say I was an asthmatic, but yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Scott, those CDs, and I actually took some of them with me to Denver. What a treasure trove! That is incredible, man. Like, I want to know. Like, I was researching it. I can't find a lot of information about it, but Scott gifted me graciously like a 20 CD set. In fact, I'm going to grab them. I want to show them. This is incredible. A bunch of stuff. Viewer mail is super fun, and I'm just so incredibly blessed. But this is one of the things he sent me. This is a CD set of Hit Parade CDs. And these are incredible. Like, this is my kind of music. This is stuff I love the most. This is like their compilation albums by year of music from, the 40s and 50s. So this is incredible. It's like Doris Day, Nat King Cole, Dick Haymes, Sammy Kaye, Dinah Shore, Doris Day, Peggy Lee. It's got Glenn Miller, Bing Crosby and stuff. I didn't know this existed. It's incredible, and I'm just so blessed. And so I'd love to know the behind the scenes, Scott. Tell me how you came to be. And then also this really cool Lawrence Welk Baby Elephant Walk CD. And this is so cool, dude. Arthur Lyman, Taboo. I love this sort of jungle music. Oh, it's so good. I'm so blessed. I was sitting there. Are you kidding me? Opening this up, like, I can't believe it. I'm so thankful for this. So thank you, my friend. That was crazy cool. I did not know that existed. So thank you very, very much. That's awesome. STV World says, I got a Disney picture disc and all sides were defective except one. Disney sent me a new copy and a bonus record sale. That's cool that they made it right. I've had really good luck with the Disney picture discs. My favorite Disney picture disc purchase was I bought the Pocahontas one from a record shop here. And it said, and at the time I didn't even see the note, but it was like a ridiculous price. It was like $5 or $4 or something. I'm like, why is this cheap? The playing service looked fine. And then when I got home, I realized I'm terrible, by the way, about inspecting my purchases prior to purchase. So I bought empty record sleeves, wrong record in there, damaged. I'm terrible about that. I look at this thing, I'm like, oh, cool, good price. I'll take it. I don't even look at it. I know it's terrible. I'm just being honest with you guys. But anyway, I get home and I had a note on it that said warped, only for display. And I'm looking at it saying, like, it's not that warped. It didn't look warped at all to me. So I put it on the player. Very, very minimal. Probably not even the most warped, picture disc I have. Plays perfectly. And then over time, it flattened itself out. I feel like the humidity and heat down here kind of makes the records somewhat pliable. So when they're packed in their sleeves and cases, over time they kind of flatten out. But yeah, it's really, really good. I have a bowl-shaped warp on my record. I've got a few of those bowl warps. Those are weird. Aren't those weird? Yeah, those are strange. So I got Coldplay Russia. Well, you got some good Super Prince. You got some good stuff. Dude, those CDs were so cool. Tim Allen. That's how far back on comments I am. I apologize. Welcome in. comment at will, ask questions, whatever. I'll do my best to get to comments. And I've got some stuff to share, some breaking news, and some. I want to show you the haul from Denver. It's a small, humble haul, but it was a meaningful haul. And I'll tell you some of the cool stuff I saw there in terms of vinyl and records and stuff. Hey, Mr. Record-ology, the right way to do anything is the way that works best for you. That's great advice, Tim. Thank you. Really enjoying your videos. New subscriber. Keep up the great work. Rob, thank you so much, my friend, and welcome. The Disney picture disc was the only one I ever got that was defective. Double LP set. Which one was it? Did you tell me which one it was? Do you just collect Taylor's? Did you just collect Taylor Swift on vinyl? Oh, so Mark saw the post, and I filmed a short, and I haven't decided if I'm going to post that as well. So I did recently buy, and I'm going to tell you guys why I purchased. Don't let me forget before this stream is over. That'll be sort of as what's his name? Walt Disney had this term called a weenie, and it was basically something to entice you to go somewhere else or to wait for the end. You know, it's some kind of something. And for instance, when you walk into Disneyland or Walt Disney World, you see the castle. That's the first weenie. It's just like a hot dog to a dog. It attracts, you know. And so the idea is that the castle draws you in. It pulls you towards the middle. Then once you get to the castle, you look around, you'll see different other lands, like, you know, Adventureland, Tomorrowland, you know, Fantasyland. They each have some kind of something that makes you go, let's go over there and check that out. So the weenie for today's show will be, why did I purchase full price a very interesting record, Taylor Swift? I did do it. Do I still have it? Am I starting a Taylor Swift collection? Have I been a Taylor Swift fan this whole time? Stay tuned. Think anybody will actually stay tuned? Mostly I just hope you stay tuned to hang out because, you know, it's fun to hang out. Okay, STB World, you'll have to see my 2015 car with the tape deck. Yeah, send pictures to the email. I love it when you guys email with, you know, questions or stories or pictures. Ivy Poisons, I'm having a midlife crisis and I'm only 19, currently going through a classical music phase. At least I can't find it cheap. At least I can find it cheap at the first. No, that's totally cool. So I midlife crisis. The term is silly, but you know, and I probably have been in a midlife crisis, or am I just an old soul? Is another way to put it. No, that's really, really cool. I love classical music. I remember Second and Charles up in Denver. Wish they had it here. They don't. Decided one day to just take their entire classical music thing and put it in the free bin. Rest in peace, free bin. You will be missed. And I just instantly had, you know, this massive collection of, you know, 30 to 40 classical CDs and probably 20 classical albums. I would say 60 to 80% of my classical music collection is still from that single day. I love classical music. Long before, you know, and again, I mean, high school listening to Tchaikovsky, Vivaldi, Four Seasons, one of my absolute favorites. In terms of classical music, I've really, really learned to appreciate the French composers. I'm trying to think of the one, Debussy, Claire de Lune and all that stuff. Just incredible. If you love classical music, do yourself a favor, and you can probably find it on YouTube. And it's the French Pavilion from Epcot, Walt Disney World French Pavilion, and it's called Impressions de France. And it's a musical suite of French composers, classical composers, and it's a recent recording within the last 15, 20 years. Incredible overview of some of the like a greatest hits reel of the coolest moments of some classical music, and that's what really would kind of turn me on to that specific part of classical music. And if you don't like classical music, maybe check it out, Impressions de France. It's like a Circle Vision, kind of a wraparound movie show where they show like all this aerial footage flying around France, and it's beautiful, but the music is the star of the show. Impressions de France. By the way, while I've got you here, I want to announce that my wife, Mrs. Record-ology, aka Rain, her channel Rain's Place, back online, and it's providing content that you need to check out. And it's cool. It's really, really fun. We've been having a blast. Just doing some cool stuff. I say we, she's doing it. It's all her thing, but it's super cool. And I wanted to shout her out. So Rain's Place, at Rain's Place, RAINSPLACE on YouTube. In fact, I am going to take it a step further. I'm going to put a link. Let me make sure that I've got the right link. Yes. Go over there and subscribe. Would you please? Would really appreciate it. And your comments mean the world. And I want you to know that your support and subscription or subscribing to that channel and is muy bueno. So thank you in advance. Rain's Place, and keep an eye on the lookout. She's doing some really cool stuff. She's got some great content, things that she's worked on and things that are in the works still. So check that out. Absolutely. All right. Try not to be so behind on comments. Already. Oh, you got that Weezer. That's a great album. And they have a Target exclusive blue marble pressing that I kind of want to pick that one up, because that, if I had to pick one album of that genre, the grungy 90s rock scene that, from music from my, youth, that's probably the #1 album. The second would probably be the Stone Temple Pilots. But again, I don't know if I want to go down that route. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to get into that. And then they're coming out with like this multi-disc set, like a $250 box set version of it with all of this, rehearsal stuff. Joseph Bennett, welcome to the Record-ology Inner Circle. Joseph, welcome in. And this is an excellent transition into another topic, which is our membership program. Now, the membership program, we've done this in the past, but this has been restructured into a much more affordable. It's like $1 a month. 99 cents a month goes to support the channel. You get your name in electric lights, as the saying goes. But seriously, in our videos, we put your name at the beginning of thank you members. Also, we provide exclusive content, usually exclusive shorts or previews, pictures, or early access to episodes. And we're trying to provide more of that exclusive content, so it's only going to increase. Also, we will go to our member group and ask for guidance on things and feedback, sort of the boardroom, which everybody's invited to join. So there is a link somewhere around. I don't know if it's in the description. It's certainly in one of the tabs, probably the About tab for the YouTube page. You're welcome to join the Record-ology Inner Circle. Plus, you get exclusive badges and icons and things you can use in the chats. And so thank you, Joseph. Welcome aboard. Look for your name in the next show, which should be coming soon, by the way. Some amazing things have been transpiring in the last 10 to 14 days in terms of product that's being secured for the show, and I can't wait to experience that with you guys. It's gonna be some cool stuff. Some record players that I'm genuinely excited to open and check out. Very, very cool. Joseph Bennett hits with a $2 super chat. You are supporting left and right, my friend. Thank you so very, very much. Super chats, always, always, always welcome and very much appreciated, but never expected. Yes, this is for funding more player purchase, absolutely. So, the revenue to support the channel goes right into bringing content. And, there's things, too, that you don't really think about as a viewer. Costs that are associated with doing this. You got equipment, you've got bandwidth, you've got subject matter, you've got time, and even things like building the thumbnails. That's a paid service. I design them, but the tool I use is a subscription. So that costs a certain amount per month and whatnot. So it's very much appreciated, and I don't expect anybody to pay anything. This is free. It's designed to be a blessing to people. But when people can and choose to support, it's like incredibly, it's crazy. So This says, let's celebrate the 5th super on a live stream. Is that like in the history of my lives or in this particular live? Because I've seen the one. I'll have to check that out. I'm still learning here. And by the way, if I forget or miss a comment, I really apologize. Add it again and I'll try to get to it. It's just it's like this. It comes at me fast. So, oh man, old radios with the Bauer camera from Germany is tested and everything is working. Yeah, you have to let me know how these go. You got all these experiments up in the air, old radio, so I love to hear how it goes. I love space age pop. That's some cool stuff. Joseph Bennett rocking out the new, the exclusive icons there, like the R, the thing where I'm going like this, and the Technics SLB1. No, what is that? SL, is it SL? No, it's not B because it's a direct drive. It's a direct drive SLD1? It's a direct drive Technics turntable. The Life and Sad Ending. Welcome in. So glad to have you here. Space Age Pop site that has all different subgenres. Oh, that's cool. There's so many subgenres of subgenres. Scott, okay, so you're going to tell me about these CDs. Well, I got the CDs from a promotion when they were released real cheap as a set and kept them for years, but I thought you would enjoy them since I have the complete Time Life Hit Parade set, so enjoy it. My friend, that was so kind of you, man. I'm literally, sorry to see my ugly hair, literally excited to dig into those, and I already have. And just sit there and enjoy it. And by the way, speaking of digging in and enjoying, if you're a Glenn Miller fan and you haven't picked this up yet, this is the new exclusive. Yeah, it's exclusive. The new exclusive limited edition official release. This is not a bootleg. This is done through the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society and the Glenn Miller Archive. And it is basically a bunch of hyper high resolution, unreleased, in many cases, exclusive content of Glenn Miller's radio career. And I love the discs. They've got, because a lot of these, Glenn had a service, the Harry Smith recording service, I believe, do transcriptions. There's also these World of Radio transcription labels. It's a 2-disc set. He had his Chesterfield shows, his radio shows, transcribed for his personal collection. In fact, there's a great picture in here of the discs being handed from the Glenn Miller estate to RCA Victor in the 50s, after Glenn's passing, obviously. But this is these are the recordings that are contained on here. See those boxes there? See the armed guards holding something? And I mean, this is such a cool picture. So this is RCA Victor taking possession of these from the Glenn Miller estate right there. So these recordings have been restored and remastered to a quality that many people have never heard before of Glenn Miller music, studio or live. And it's kind of a pricey CD. I think it's, I want to say $29. It's a 2-disc set, and you buy it on, this isn't a commercial. I just want to, if you're a Glenn Miller fan, you want to know how. If you go to the website for the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society, just Google it, they have a way you can order it there. And I bought this copy, and I've been just devouring it. There's about 31 tracks on disc 1, 29 tracks on disc 2. They include the commercials, all the transitions, the network station IDs, interviews. I've been a deep cut Glenn Miller fan for probably 30 years at this point. And there's stuff on here, a lot of stuff I've never heard before. So if you're in the Glenn Miller world, check that out. Arthur Lyman, Les Baxter, Esquivel. Yeah, this is good stuff, old radios. I agree. Especially Arthur Lyman. And that's so excited that Scott also sent me that awesome Arthur Lyman CD. Just had to return a Getz Gilberto album back to Amazon. Lots of surfing. Oh, interesting. That's not good. Clay Ben Treese Jr., welcome in. Good evening. How are you doing? Hopefully everything is all right this evening. Yes, we're good. We were out of town during the hurricane. We had a pre-planned trip, and we're back now, and we did well. Reordered the CD version this time. Well, it won't have Surface Spice. That's for sure. I wish I bought some records today, but I wanted that Bauer cam. Yeah, sometimes you got to like, and that's a good transition to us. I want to get to telling you guys about the adventure I had in Denver of record hunting. Plus, I need food. Priorities, right? Absolutely. All those stinking needs. Yeah. Yeah. Food, shelter definitely come first. Of course, you can use a record as a small shelter. You ever record music from Spotify or Discogs? No, I don't record music from Spotify or Discogs. And I've never even bought music from Discogs. I use it as a research thing, and I don't create a list of my records on there. I don't have any desire to do that. I know a lot of people like to do that. I don't. I personally don't. I don't know. It's the way I am. Claire de Lune is my favorite. Yeah, it's such a great song. Debussy, Debussy, and the song. I guess he suffered from terrible headaches and things, and um, Claire de Lune, I think if it was Claire de Lune, if I'm remembering right, was written during a bombing raid, and there was explosions going. It's amazing, absolutely. I like Saint Cian's. That's absolutely good as well. Do I love classical music? I friggin' sponsor the damn symphony orchestra here in town. Steve says, "Awesome, dude. I love classical. Live classical music is talk about digital versus analog and the warmth and the presence. Then you take any recorded record and go in person, especially when it's classical music. You feel that as much as you hear it. It's incredible. Absolutely. I'm going to pin my own comment about the Rain's Place channel. Go there and subscribe if you wouldn't mind, please. I'd appreciate it. Steve says the first concert of the upcoming season is a really cool Halloween themed concert. Dude, that sounds so cool. I'm sure they have something here. I need to go see like the Orlando Symphony. I know Tampa's got a really good one as well. But I love classical music, and I love orchestral music in general, like soundtracks. Even like Arthur Lyman, orchestral, non-vocal music is absolutely fantastic. Just subscribe to her channel, Clay. Thank you so much. Scott says, almost time for the Nutcracker Suite since Christmas just around the corner. Absolutely. Eric, welcome in, my friend. Super Prince, thank you so much for subscribing as well. Thank you for everybody subscribing to Rain's Place. Only thing that sucks is Arvin has a flip over cartridge in the non-mode. Oh, interesting. So you got some work to do on that. Old radios. I also found a 1999 Sony CCD Handycam. Those are cool. Those are cool. Handycams are cool. Clay, thank you, my friend, for the super chat. That's so kind of you. So nice. So nice. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate the support. It's very much appreciated. BSR tables. Yeah, I think they're cool though. I mean, everybody knew. My grandparents both had like the console player with the BSR mechanism. Slim Pickens at the swap meet. You know what was today, and I didn't go. I drove through there, but Lakeland had their record fair, which is put on by Jesse Carl Vinyl, which is a cool shop that I hadn't visited until a few weeks ago, and I did a short about that if you want to check it out. Very cool, clean, well-organized, small shop in Lakeland. There's a lot of options for record people if you make the drive to Lakeland from wherever you're at. But they had this thing that they hold it like a bar or it's some kind of establishment, and it's mostly Jesse Carl vinyl, but they also have other vendors there as well, and they have like a bar. And I went last year, and it was very fun, but the selection just wasn't there for what I was looking for. Now, you know me, I'm always, I cycle through different interests of things I'm looking for, so maybe I'd have more luck. But this time, it was happening today, and I just didn't have time to make it happen, so I decided not to do it, but almost did. Almost popped in there. For anyone that wants to become a member, click on the little money sign beside the comment area, then click become a member. Joseph, thank you so much. I learned something today. Thank you so much. I need to learn more than one something a day because I need to learn more than that. I try to learn. I try to spend time. Like I will sit there, if I can't sleep, I'll sit there on ChatGPT, just deep diving on some super nerdy thing. If you like to know trivia facts, you want to know history of something or a person or whatnot, and you're like wanting specific questions answered, ChatGPT is the blast. It's so fun because you can learn about a certain. It's even more fun than Wikipedia, which yes, I have the Wikipedia app on my phone because I use it so much. And then you go deep dive and ChatGPT on stuff. It's super interesting. Thank you so much for the. For promoting that and helping folks understand that, Joseph. I just purchased a Stevie Ray Vaughan first 3 albums, the original CD versions of his albums. So I'm trading in originals and swapping them. It's fun sometimes to upgrade your copy to something else. That's cool. I'm glad that they put the complete last show. Yes, Scott, that's really interesting too, because the one where Harry James. By the way, Harry James's voice. I know when they did this, they were very mindful to get the speeds right, because a lot of what we've heard in terms of Glenn Miller recordings of live recordings over the years have been incorrect speed. So they took special care to make sure the proper speed was done. So Glenn's voice is a bit deeper than some people realize, because they have a tendency to speed things up. That being said, Glenn sounds fine in that interview at the end when he's talking about Harry James. But Harry James's voice is so high pitched. I'm like, that's really his voice? And it has to be, but it just kind of blew my mind. Super Dogs, number 55. Welcome in, my friend. Did very well through the hurricane. Melbourne had very little damage. I haven't been over to the East Coast side yet, but was in Tampa Bay this morning, and it was definitely still having issues. So, yeah, prayers for everybody impacted. I'll be getting these Stevie Ray Vaughan season in the mail. Cool. Something to look forward to. Absolutely. I like analog, says Super Dogs number 55. And that right there means you're part of the club. So welcome. How true, how true. But it says, I know this is a subject that you probably haven't covered on your channel. Original versus remasters when it comes to CDs in terms of how they were remastered. A lot of people talk about the important. I love CDs, as I've talked about it and shown it. And actually on this record channel today, I haven't really talked about records, but I will. So stay tuned. I love CDs. And yes, a lot of people love to talk about, rightfully so, the whole loudness wars thing, and some people, the sort of the loudness of CDs that were done in early days, and how it comes down to the master, maybe more so than any other format, but especially with CDs, how the master, the version that they're using, is very, very important. And that's a good idea. Thanks for the tip of the show. Comparing the originals to the remasters. It's a good point. Speaking of that, quickly, and I've said it before, but the Beatles Red and Blue album, I gifted the Red and Blue album to my son. By the way, my original Red and Blue albums, I've gifted them because I don't need duplicates, because I got the new box set. I will say this: the new box set, the 2023 remaster Red and Blue albums, there are a couple of songs I don't like the mixes on as much with the new versions. And like Don't Let Me Down, you can't hardly hear the keyboards, and I don't like that. Most of them, I think they're fine, and sometimes better. The stereo blends are amazing. The balances, like if you are still in the, I personally am not in the mono Beatles camp. A lot of people are going to die on the hill of mono Beatles forever, and I think stereo Beatles is fantastic. And I agree that split track stereo, where the voices are on one side and the instruments are on the other, is annoying. That's not what I'm talking about. And I think that's what a lot of people think when they think of stereo Beatles. But I'm talking about actual stereo mixes of the Beatles are fantastic. I can't understand why that wouldn't be. I mean, some people are really, really passionate about it. Maybe I just need to learn more. But yeah, there you go. Okay. CD Masters. Superdog says, I had a BSR turntable in one of those altogether units. Problem I hate of BSR turntables are lousy cartridges. I had I didn't have a BSR, but a few years ago on the show I had a Glenburn. I think it was a Glenburn, it's basically a BSR, it's like Chevy and Oldsmobile. It was like a slight higher end deal, but pretty much the same idea. It was started by the BSR people, and it kind of was a BSR, but it's supposedly one notch above. Anyway, made in the UK, just like BSR. But I had a Shure cartridge on it. It was all right. It was fun. It was the whole thing was so bouncy and spongy, and it was you know what I mean? It wasn't a precise thing. It was like a functional thing, but it was a stacker. It worked. It ran fast. So I did an episode a long time ago where I filed down the drive shaft so I could mechanically, do it. Scott says that's definitely Harry's real voice. It's interesting. He's got a very interesting voice. Scott has a stereo set and the mono set, the Capitol box set of the Beatles. So is that the new Capitol? Is that like the new box set? I'm not going to get the new box set. I went for all the UK stuff. I like the UK releases. I think the best. But I'm a baby in the world of Beatles. John says the Neil Diamond Beautiful Noise Road Tour is coming to Orlando in February 2025. I would enjoy myself at a Neil Diamond concert. I think I would like that. There are two types of people in this world: those that love Neil Diamond and those that don't. What movie is that from? What movie is that quote from? No, the new Capital box set is the one from a few years. Oh, okay, got you. There's so many versions of things. You know what I think was cool was the USB box set that they had with a little Apple thing, and that's pretty collectible now. Comments all cut up. Joseph says, and he's right. Okay, finally, let's get on to the meat and potatoes of the show. So while in Denver, I had to hit up my old haunts and did some hunting, some picking. I filmed a couple, 2, 3 videos. I think all but one of those has been posted. But I also went to some places that I didn't film. One that I did film early on and posted it early on was Second and Charles. So I got to jump into Second and Charles. And of all the places I went, it's the only place, no, not the only place that I bought something, but one of the very few places I bought something. I also did some thrifting, went to a couple record shops, and I've decided that there's two types of records that we are interested in when we go record hunting. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. There are the must-haves and the alsos. And what I mean by that is the must-haves are the records that you really want and you can't pass up and you've got to have it. It's a must-have record. You're not leaving without it. You know what I mean? Then there's the records that are they're cool. Maybe you've been looking for them, but would you get them by themselves? I do this thing where sometimes, especially at thrift stores, I'm going through. It's like, yeah, it's a cool record. I kind of do want a copy of that, but I don't know if I would, if it's worth just getting by itself. Like if I find a must-have record, the alsos may come with it, or at least a few of them. And when I went to this one particular store, I found so many also records. What added to it for me is the fact that I was traveling on a plane, and traveling with vinyl records is not fun because you have to carry them on the plane, and you will have your carry-on, and then you have to sneak on another carry-on. And I put them down between the seat and the wall. I'm not condoning this behavior. I remember in Vegas, I bought an airport, or I bought a record set, a must-have record set. There's a Rat Pack set at the airport. They had a little rack of vinyl records, and I already had a carry-on, and I already had my bag. So I wasn't hiding anything, but I had my carry-on and I had this in my hand, and I'm like, if they stop me, I'll deal with it. But they didn't, and I ended up putting it between the seat and the window, like kind of down in the side of the seat. So anyway, I was like, if I'm gonna get a record while I'm in Denver, it has to be real good. So it has to be a really good must-have. This is the must-have. Must be a really good must-have. So the also records weren't going to come home. So I went to this one shop, this thrift store, and there was probably 20 to 30 also records. A lot of Frank Sinatra albums I would like to have, good prices, but they weren't like justifiable to buy. And the other option is send it to myself media mail. Well, I didn't have a record mailer, and I'd have to go hunt one of those down. So anyway, so that's the story, is that I went to a bunch of places. I bought a couple of things. I want to show you what I got. I bought a tiny bit of gear and a tiny bit of media. So at Second and Charles, I had the best luck with media. And I have this tendency, and you guys have seen this on display, where I will have and maybe other people do this too. Do you guys do this? Well, I'll be interested in one artist, and then they will take me to another artist that will take me to it'll be like a chain of events. And like, for instance, I discovered Patsy Cline because I liked K-Star. And I found out that K-Star, Patsy Cline was a big fan of K-Star. So there was a a through line. And the reason why I found out about K-Star was because of Glenn Miller. When Marion Hutton was out sick for a couple of weeks, K-Star flew in and did a couple recording dates and a couple show dates and recorded a couple of Glenn's studio songs, not Happy in Love. What did she do? Love with a capital U, and another song. They're really good. And that's what kind of led me to her, and then that led me to Patsy Cline. And, Patsy Cline's led me to other artists. So on my recent, you guys know I've been sort of Bing Crosby obsessed lately. Talked about the Bing Crosby unit that I'm restoring. which leads you to the road movie. It's like a path you will find. You know what I mean? So my entry point has been Bing Crosby. Not that I didn't know or appreciate his music or even have some of his music before, but when you get into Bing Crosby, you will be led to the road movies. And when you are led, not if, but when you discover and go to the road movies, you discover the guy next to him in that picture, which is Bob Hope, who's a fascinating character. And so I've been on a Bob Hope kick as well. Now, if you also there's sort of this, you start launching into different areas. So Dorothy Lamour, Bob Hope, and Bing Crosby. By the way, this is a great set. There's 7 total road movies. 3 of them must be public domain for whatever reason. They're allowed on YouTube, so you can go see those. But there's 4 that you have to buy on disc. You can't just see them on YouTube. This set is incredible, like the artwork, and this is like physical media like visual overload. It's just so cool the way this is laid out. Great set. I think I picked this up for like less than $10, including shipping on eBay used, the franchise collection. So yeah, you discover one, then you discover another. So I've been learning about all of these people, and I've lately been watching Bob Hope and Dorothy Lamour movies like My Favorite Brunette, and I've been watching there's so many. But anyway, when I was at Second and Charles, I picked up this Bob Hope biography. Check out the nose, the ski slope nose, this trademark nose. You know, just an interesting character. You know what I mean? He's a character. It was a character, not somebody necessarily that would be like a great moral example of how to live your life, but a very interesting character, did incredible good things too. What I'm alluding to is he was quite the womanizer, so that's not good. But he did so many good things for our troops and for just supporting, the troops is the biggest, and entertaining people. And it's a fascinating read, an absolute fascinating book. People are saying that's a terrific book, and I'm excited to. I'm working through the intro. I'm this far in. I'm like, yes, I do dog ear my pages. So this is like how much is this new? This is the first edition paper book. This is like, or paperback. This is like a 2015 issue. I think it came out in 2014 in hardback. $18. I paid for this used pristine copy like $6. So I'm excited to do that. I picked that up, and I picked up 2 CDs. They had a bunch of Bing Crosby CDs. I picked up 2 of them. I initially was walking around the store with, like 6 or 7 CDs, and I did some soul searching. It's so deep and important, I know, right? And these are the 2 that I'm like, yes, I'm taking these with me. This one is the first. This is Bing's Gold Record. So Bing Crosby, even if you don't like the music, and I know a lot of, he's obviously like arguably the entertainer of the century and all this stuff, but it's not everybody's cup of tea these days, and that's fine. But from the pure standpoint of the magnitude of what he did, it's worth listening to. The story of him anyway, if not the music. He recorded over 2,000 songs, dozens upon dozens, close to 100 albums, if not more. And out of that had like 24 gold records. So this is a collection of his gold records. It strangely has 21 of the 24 gold records that he had. You would think that they would just put the other 2 on there and call it a day. But yeah, so this is kind of a good overview. This is a 97 release, and it's got a pretty good booklet as well. So this was like $1.95. Loving nerdy music makes it very affordable and collectible. The next second CD I bought was the Definitive Collection. If you like any artist on Decca, you will find that they probably released a Definitive Collection. Patsy Cline, another Decca recording artist, also has a Definitive Collection. This one is even more extensive. This is from 2006. And in the booklet, and it's got a very thick, exhaustive booklet, wonderful packaging. I love the packaging. Here's the disc itself. Beautiful screen printed disc. I love the details. I know it's nerdy. I savor the details. But in the booklet, which is quite extensive, it basically states when you have an artist that recorded so prolifically, 2,000 recordings. How do you do any kind of best of together? You know what I mean? You're just sort of out, overwhelmed with it. There's a great picture right there. So this is a sampling of, and it's a really good overview, a good mini biography of his career, different phases of it. I was surprised to learn, if you are into Bing Crosby, and if besides just, at Christmas, like everybody is, but if you know of him, you think of him as a Decca artist. But I actually didn't realize this till the other day. This is one of those deep dives on ChatGPT. He departed Decca in 55. Obviously, he had a big career after that. He kind of did the Frank Sinatra reprise route where he owned his masters, licensed them out. The last thing I bought, and I told you it wasn't a lot, and I hesitated about this, but it's a thrift store find. I bought this CD player, and this will be in the thumbnail for this video. It's a 2004 issue Emerson. So it's a value CD player. It's not a high-end. It's not a Sony, Panasonic. Manufactured in October of 2004. It's cool. I don't need a CD player, but it was like $5 or $6. And I'm like, this is fun. This is really, really fun. I made the mistake of traveling with too much stuff, which is not, knowing my pack rat nature, it's not a huge surprise. I actually brought a Walkman with me and a CD player in case I came across any media that I wanted to listen to while traveling. I will absolutely not do that again. And I've said this before, and I've made a mistake before. Just not worth lugging that around. I will live on streaming when I travel from now on. But I had to pick this up. I mean, check this out. This is so cool. Does it work? Yes, it does work. It's not perfect. It is more stable with the ESP on, the anti-skip protection. I think it's got a dirty laser, and it may need some lubrication on the rails. But it's cool because it's got I like how they put the battery compartment under the disc. I think that's a nice touch there. So yeah, it was a value brand. At this point, Emerson wasn't. It was a marketing thing, like a lot of brands are these days. This is one of the first that sort of became sort of a commoditized entity there. So who knows who made it? Emerson Radio Corp is essentially the name of Emerson. But it's not the same company. That's my understanding of it anyway. But it's a fully functional CD, or fully featured, I should say it. And what I mean by that is it's programmable. Some CDs you can't program. Not that I use that feature a lot, I don't, but it's cool to have. And that's what kind of differentiates to me if it's fully featured. Also, the anti-skip is switchable. So you can switch off the anti-skip, get that full CD resolution without the RAM buffering, determining the resolution of it. So it's chromy. It's very early 2000s. I love this ultimate skip protection in the lip there. I love the fact that it's round. I love CD players that are as small and CD sized as possible, and it's just cool. It's fun. Absolutely. It's got a 4.5 volt input, actual volume knob. It's not a digital control. Headphone jack. I mean, this is before any kind of extra stuff. There's no FM radio. There's no Bluetooth. It's a basic programmable CD player. So I'm going to clean that lens, and I'm going to maybe lubricate the rails and see how it functions. Worst case scenario, it's still cool, and it's worth taking the gamble on it. This is one of those things where I was walking around, and I picked up, I'm like, yeah, I want this. And I'm like, do I need this? I don't really need this. And then I was like, yeah, what the heck? I mean, let's just go for it. I'm glad I did. It's fun. It doesn't work perfectly yet, but I think it will. Give it some time. Did have a little battery corrosion in there, which was easy to clean out. I think that it kind of sat there for a while. Somebody probably had it for 20, I guess it'd be maybe 20 years. So, all right, back into the comment world. And yes, I still owe you an explanation. Taylor Swift, what was I thinking? Stay tuned. Why did I buy that? I will get to that, and then we will say a fond adieu, and we will resume our work weeks. If you start working tomorrow, you gotta get some sleep. Unless it's the middle of the night for you and you should be working in a few hours, but you're up in the middle of the night and you're trying to fall asleep. So you're like, what's the most boring thing I can listen to? I know that Record-ology guy. In that case, I'm hopeful and happy to be of service. So let's get caught up here. Joseph says, I'm mainly interested in LPs and any that have multiple presses in one jacket or a box that protects them. That's interesting. Multiple presses in one jacket. like different versions in one release. That would be really cool. I wonder if that Weezer LP box set is going to have different versions. It's got some 7-inch records, some 12-inch records. But the thing I was thinking about, like, I don't know if I want other versions of it. The versions I like are the main album version. And they have it already, or parts of it, or something similar on Apple Music. You know, because there was these kitchen, I think they call them the kitchen recordings, where they were like demo recordings from '92, before a couple of years before the album was released. And it's interesting from like a historic standpoint to hear them it coming together. But I'm not going to go to that, except maybe once or twice to is an interesting thing. I'm not going to go to that as a definitive version. The definitive version, it's always the first version you ever hear is the version that you know and love when it comes to books, movies, music in a lot of cases. So for me, my favorites are the ones that I know, which is the album, the regular cheap album I get for $1 used at the thrift store. So I'm not going to be going $250 on that box set, but it is interesting. I get to hear K-Star every day on my work speaker during the holidays. That's cool. I love her song. There's like a remix of "Man with a Bag." It's a Santa Claus song, and it's got like a kind of a trap remix. It's cool. It's cool. Do I like Cliff Richard? Is Cliff Richard? Why do I want to say? Isn't it the voice of Pinocchio? Hold on a second. I'm probably wrong. I doubt anybody would ask about Pinocchio. Or is he a member of the Rolling Stones? Okay, I think worth anything. Okay, yeah. British singer and actor. His total sales is 21.5 million. Mm-hmm. Style of Elvis Presley and Little Richard. Interesting. Career spanning 65 years. I bet you I know and love some of his songs, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. And I guess it's not the guy that did the voice of. Now I'm curious. Who did the voice of Jimmy Cricket? ChatGPT. Of Humming Cricket? Autocorrect. Okay. Actually, is something called Humming Cricket? What the heck? I'm terrible with the autocorrect. Jiminy. Come on. Cliff Edwards. Okay. My mind works just at a slower rate. Physical media is better than streaming. Boy, there's a topic for debate. But yeah, I mean, this whole channel is about physical media. Matthew says that's a great book, very even-handed. I'm looking forward to reading it. That's true, Clay. When you own it, you own it. Scott has a K-Star singing "The Man with the Bag." Yeah, that's the one we were just talking about. That's funny. I'm getting caught up on comments. You guys are already talking about the stuff I'm just now getting to. Clay says I have a DVD box set, Mama's Family. Oh, that's so cool. I love collecting complete sets of shows I love. I remember when he passed, I was like, Bob who? I was a younger teen. I remember when there was like, how celebrities, like news organizations will have pre-built materials like pictures, tributes, and copy written for a celebrity when they pass. They'll do it before they pass, so it's ready to go, and they just instantly have it ready. Well, Bob Hope's somebody leaked incorrectly that he had passed away before he passed away. So one morning he said he was like eating his cereal and watching his own obituary on the TV. He's like, I'm still here, you guys. He made it past his 100th by a couple of months. Bob is cool because of his work on tape and video recording. There's so much stuff out there. Boy, talk about a rabbit hole. There's so much stuff. Bing, not Bob. Oh, okay, got you. Yeah, I'm sleepy too. In fact, I need to go to bed. I've been up a long time today. I'm like functioning off of a small nap and a lot of coffee. What was the very first release of Bing Crosby on CD? That's a great question. Although I'm a fan, like records, like Bing Crosby, like pretty much everything. I'm a fan, not necessarily an expert. There's probably some compilation in the 80s when CDs started coming out. I'm not sure. My favorite era of CDs was the mid 90s. I feel like that was the era when the ancillary materials like the booklets, the designs of the everything was the best. Early CDs are pretty minimal. Oftentimes the covers are just literally the square album art from the LP, whatever it was, duplicated into CD form with a simple slip sheet, no liner notes, no nothing. And that's fine. I have, many of those as well. And I feel like CDs after like the 2000s and even today, oftentimes, although there's exceptions, but oftentimes they are pretty minimal as well. There may not be a lot of liner note information, and they can just be cheaper. Sometimes substandard materials are used. Sometimes they're non-official releases and things like that. So, it just really, really depends. I love the mid 90s era with the thick booklets and things like that. Scott says Bing Crosby is the one that got recording tape. Oh yeah, absolutely. I see what you mean by the tape. Yeah. So like pretty much single-handedly brought audio and videotape recording into being, invested heavily in that. I have the definitive Bing Crosby and quite a few others. That's great. That's so cool. I definitely have more to get. So I've got some of the individual. I happen to have some of my Bing Crosby stuff here. I've got like the Bing Crosby. They did a lot of compilations of his because with such a large, like how do you divide it up? Because there was so much material he did. You can't do like a Decca collection, and it's like decades upon decades of music with 38,000 CDs. So like this is a good example. So my favorite Irish songs will be like a collection of Irish music, and so that's more manageable because maybe there is only 10 or 20 Irish songs that he recorded. There's another one I've got that's like a country, my favorite country songs, things of that nature. But what I'm really interested in are some of these, and I did want to get, I always say use the term bulked up, which sounds like hoarding talk, and maybe it is, but I also want to have kind of like the baseline of stuff. So I picked up like this a few weeks ago at the closing, my last visit of, what was the record? East West Records. May they rest in peace here in the Orlando area. I picked this up. It was originally $10.99 used, and I picked it up for like 3 or 4 clearance. 100 of his songs. This is an import release, but 5 CD set. But what I love, this is probably my favorite thing, dude, and I've shown it a few times. But these live broadcasts, these are Kraft Music Hall recordings from basically one of his radio shows, and it's 5 CDs. And there's 2 complete programs on each disc. It's a Laserlight, which is a budget label, but they did some amazing things. These are all off of 16-inch transcription discs that were in the possession of his the group that looks after his materials, the official archive family archive. I forget the name of it now. It's at a university, but anyway. That's some of the stuff I have. It's hard to. I would love to find some more stuff, but I would also like to find some Bob Hope CDs and Dorothy Lamour CDs. They were both singers in their own right. What was the very first release? I already talked about that. Buddy Holly did Decca. Yes, I know that Buddy Holly before the Crickets recorded with Owen Bradley at the Quonset Hut studio in Nashville a year before he made the big time. And Owen Bradley was Decca. So I wonder, well, Coral was Decca too. So Coral was like the B label for Decca. So it was probably Coral first and then Decca. But anyway, yeah, Buddy Holly, sans the Crickets, recorded Owen Bradley right before Patsy Cline started, I think. It's like 54, 55, somewhere around there. Yeah. Clay says, how do you run into any cassettes lately or anything like that? Usually record shops will have them. Antique malls is a good place. Obviously, eBay. Look on Facebook Marketplace. Be careful meeting up with people. It's always sketchy. And same thing with Craigslist. But they're out there. Pretty much anywhere you find vinyl records, you'll find a small amount of cassettes. Finding what you're looking for is kind of a crapshoot. It's like, what I mean? It's hit or miss. But you'll find them. You'll find them out there. Clay says, you need a CD laser lens cleaning disc. Yeah, I've got one of those. I've got one of my old, I've got an actual one from like the early 90s with the little brush on it and the solution. But the way I clean cleaning a CD lens is amazingly easy. All you got to do is take a Q-tip or a sponge tip if you want to be even better about it. Dip it in some isopropyl alcohol and gently wipe the lens. That's all there is to it. And that clears up a lot of issues. I remember I've had 5-disc changes like my beautiful Sony down here that were seemingly problematic and not working. Simple, basic lubrication and wiping that laser lens clean does wonders. Yeah, that blue color is cool. And I have to admit, I am dopey enough that I will buy a book based on its cover kind of person. So the fact that it was blue was a major selling point. It's supposed to snow here in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Whoa. Oh, man, that's a great time to bring the Christmas music out. I'm jealous. Obviously there's no snow down here. We've got Snope, which is like a foamed snow made out of like soap material. It kind of sort of looks like it when it's falling, but it's super localized because obviously it can't be falling from everywhere. So they'll pump it in places like Disney World does it. Town of Celebration does it on their main street. It does look like it's like gently falling down. It's kind of the next best thing. You just get soapy instead of snowy. It's not cold. It's kind of weird, like, being in what looks like a snowstorm with your shorts on and it's like 85 degrees and 90% humidity. Buddy Holly recorded mostly on Coral, and I think Decca released it. Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you want to get my hands on the original pressing of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon? That's probably a tricky one to find. I found an amazingly, I would say, fantastic deal on a Beatles record. Did not purchase it again because it's an American album, and I only collected the UK albums. But if you want to see that, look at my latest short. Matthew says Cliff's heyday in the U.S. was late 70s, early 80s. He wasn't very big over here. Isn't it weird how some artists don't transition well? Obviously, the Beatles, probably one of the biggest British acts to make a name for themselves and success in the United States. Then you've got bands like Status Quo that are fantastic and were huge in the UK, and Europe in general just didn't make a dent over here. I asked my dad, I'm like, you know about Status Quo, and he knew about Matchstick Men. He's like, I kind of remember that song in high school. My dad was kind of like me, where he wasn't into the pop. He was, everybody in his era was listening to, Rolling Stones and Beatles and Led Zeppelin and things, and he was into Elvis and country and stuff like that. So he's kind of like me, where he was. And now I asked him, I said, Dad, do you have that thing happening where you are sort of nostalgic for the music that was popular in your youth, even though you didn't like it at the time? He says, absolutely. He has the exact same thing going on. So now he's like rediscovering the music, Pink Floyd, things that, his friends were listening to. And there's some nostalgic thing, even though it wasn't what you liked at the time, you remember it. I got a German copy of that Clay. Cliff Edwards did Jimmy. Yep. I figured that out eventually. Yeah, I like physical on streaming as well. I mean, when you're in a plane, you know what I mean? You can't beat streaming media. Portability. Yeah, absolutely. Early 2000s DVDs. Oh, it was so special. The menu systems, one of the best menus is if you have the DVD, 2005 DVD release of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's got one of the coolest menus ever, where you're exploring. It's insane. I would agree too. DVDs these days are much more simplistic, but the original OG DVDs. By the way, how much did you pay for your first CD player or DVD player? Excuse me. My first DVD player, 97. I was a pretty early adopter of DVD. And I felt like I was a late adopter because I felt like I was the last one at the club. But looking back in hindsight, I was an early adopter. I picked up for $399 at Best Buy. I bought it was a Zenith DVD player. It kind of looked like a Bose Wave. I think it was huge. It was like a 1RU, full rack size, unit. It was cool. It was really, really cool. Now they're like, you go to the thrift store, you can buy DVD players for $5. They're nothing. They have stacks of them by the dozens. Even Blu-rays now is that way. But I remember it was so special, and I bought like 2 or 3. It's all I could afford DVDs when I got the player. I got what's the movie? I want to say All Quiet on the Western Front, but it's not. The Great Escape. Oh, remember how those old DVD cases had the plastic back, but like a cardboard flap and the little clip? Good times. Memphis Belle, one of my favorites. Loved it. Good memories. And nostalgic in a weird way. It was so high tech at the time, and now it's nostalgic. I prefer the 80s era of CDs. They're short and they're simple, and not only that, they are to the point and they just simply sound better. That's an interesting opinion, Clay, because a lot of people, I think, say that the earlier CDs suffered from the loudness wars. I personally have never been a huge sound wars person that feels like there's like this huge difference in my experience. But again, I'm listening to nerd music in comparison to, what a lot of people listen to. So maybe if I was into more popular music and bands, more of that, I would probably have been more privy to that. Perhaps the Glenn Miller releases they didn't bother doing that kind of stuff with. But yeah, I think they're cool. I also like how early CDs, this is silly, but how the hub, the circle in the middle, they would take the aluminum all the way to the hole. It just looks cool. I think it does look really cool. DVD releases did get hype. And the stores would have like a little section with like 20 DVDs. Yeah. Peter John PJ, welcome in. Are you going to do some shopping vids or thrift vids on equipment and physical media? Yeah, we've done tons. And this trip to Denver, I filmed I probably went to 6 or 7 places, maybe 8 places. And I made like 3 videos. 2 of them are posted. One a few days ago. I posted one today. I've got 1 more in the hopper that I'll get out in the next day or 2. Once you listen to an original pressing of a CD from the 80s, an album will never go back to the remasters. I do prefer the originals in a lot of cases, absolutely. Okay, for my book of hits, Bing Crosby's first hit song was on Victor Records called Just a Gigolo. On the flip side was Wrap Your Trouble in Dreams. So I think his career, because he started early, like 31, 32, and I think that he didn't get onto Decca until 35, if I remember right. Anthron of Fur 3, welcome in, my friend. 80 CDs ain't messing with dynamics. I forgot to say that Bing Crosby's first hit was in 31. There you go. Okay, so it's funny how we're all in agreement. We just get there at a different time. I'm just behind on comments, so my apologies. Imminently going to explain myself on Taylor Swift in just a minute, guys. Superdogs 55 says CD was king, but they never did it on. But they overdid it on recording when taken from master tapes or louder. Yeah, exactly, and that's the loudness wars thing. Oldest Bing record I got is with Paul Whitman. Yeah, and he, what were the Melody Boys, something like that. He came out of there and was the kind of the star of the show. I've got a bunch. I don't have any Paul Whitman era stuff, but I've got some 30s and 40s Bing Crosby on 78. Quite a few. I need to do a show on that. And I've got my PLX 500 set up here, and I can play those on there very easily. I just need to actually do it. Okay. Sometimes I have random components. They'll just turn themselves on for no apparent reason. The original CD pressing of Michael Jackson's Thriller from 1983 when I first put the album was blown away. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But that's a great album anyway. Very well produced. Quincy Jones is the OG. He's the GOAT, absolutely. I would love, if anybody knows if it exists, please send me information. The original, I think it was 1970 Out of Towners movie soundtrack. If that exists, Quincy Jones composed that. It is some of the best music. So cool. Sort of in the vein of Super Bossa Nova, whatever the Bossa Nova song was that he did that was super popular. Sort of, kind of ish like that, a little more muted. But what a great soundtrack. I would buy that in a heartbeat, but I don't think it exists. When the Blackbirds and the Bluebirds got together, says already. I'm a Columbia and Brunswick Bing kind of guy. He was on every label. He was on, like you said, he was on Victor, he was on Brunswick. He and many others throughout the year. If you look at he was on every label at some point. When he went independent in 55, he was on everything. Maxell Audio. I got my 1997 portable. That's cool. Do you ever follow the man named Parlogram? He does. Yeah. The Beatles. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've conferred with him a little bit about my Beatles bootleg. Great show. And he incidentally reviewed another version of, I think he lives in Austria. Yeah, I think he lives in Austria. But he had, I don't know if it's because that's what they had there, but he, like within a week of me reviewing that ultrasonic cleaner, he reviewed another version of it. But yeah, great channel. Bing Crosby started recording with Decca in 34. Okay, that was close. Pictures of Matchstick Men and You. I've been playing cassette over LPs lately. I select my records. Yeah, learn a lot from Parlogram. That guy, he knows, he's an expert. He is an expert. Didn't get DVDs till 2000. I think a lot of people were that way. I think it didn't really go mainstream until the early 2000s. There's always early adopters. Usually it's Tecmo. He's the quintessential early adopter. Some of you still have menus. Yeah, absolutely. But they just weren't as fun as back then. Plus, it was such a novelty back then. Clay says, my first DVD player I paid for $34. It was Emerson, 2004. Isn't that amazing? Because, like, yeah, they were much more affordable even by 2004. 97, I'm sure that the one that I got for $3.99 was one of the cheapest ones. Scott says, the last hit song Bing did with Decca was Sparrow in the Treetop and went to number 8 on the Billboard. Wow. Scott, you know a lot about a lot of different artists, and they seem to overlap well with what I like. So I'm really glad you're here. You're a good friend to have. I was stuck with VHS the whole 90s. I still have VHS. There's a charm to VHS. I like it. But I remember that feeling though, when you know all your friends have CDs and you've got tapes, you felt left behind. When everybody's going to DVD and you've got VHS, you feel left behind. Especially when you're a teenager and that stuff's super important. The older you get, the less you care about what other people think. And I think ultimate happiness, part of it is in not caring what anybody thinks, but only doing what you know is right and good and helping others and not caring what other people think about you. But when you're a teenager, ooh, it's important. STV World has a portable Sony Blu-ray player. I still have one of those little portable. It might be Emerson too, now that I think about it. Little DVD portables. It has this weird power supply because I lost the original power supply, but it's a pretty cool little device. It's amazing how they're able to do that. I don't have a portable Blu-ray. I had somebody offer to have me review one, but it's a little bit outside the wheelhouse. That show didn't end up happening. But yeah, I love all video. I don't need any more formats in my life. I have in my possession not only Beta SP tapes from my broadcasting days, but Pneumatic 3/4 inch SP. So yeah. At one point, I had a really cool 2-inch video track head. It was actually an audio head out of a 2-inch video VTR. It was a wonderful paperweight. I got it either in film school or in my TV days. I think in my TV days. Upgraded to Sanyo Blu-ray player. My Blu-ray players, I only have 2, and they're both the exact same Samsung. It's an early, I don't know what model, Samsung. I've got one here, and I've got one in the by the TV. And it had a component. It has HDMI output. It's got component out as well, which is why I initially bought it, because I had a tube HD TV. It's gigantic, 27-inch widescreen tube TV. It was like 400 pounds. And at the time, the TV didn't have HDMI input. So I needed a DVD player that outputted component video. I think it was 1080i because it couldn't do progressive. 1080i over component. Yeah, I think that's what it looked really good too on the CRT. But I still have that player. It's indestructible. It is what it is. It works great. It upscales DVDs beautifully too. So you put a standard disc DVD in there, it upscales it 1080p. It looks fine. And I liked it so much I got another one when I needed a second one. And what's funny about it is I've never gone. There's certain things that everybody had that I never had. I've never in my life owned a DVR. I skipped over that completely. I was busy raising kids and, trying to put food on the table and never had a DVR. And by the time I even looked back and was like, should I get a DVR? It was ancient history at that point. Never had a DVR. I did have a DVD recorder, but that was for business use. It was like a direct-to-disc recording thing. The other thing is I never went 3D TV, although that was kind of a failed thing. And I didn't go UHD disc, and I think that's kind of peaked as well. But the 4K DVD, Ultra HD DVD, I'm not saying it's bad. They're probably wonderful. They're expensive, but Blu-ray is fine for me. This show I produce is only 1080p, and the cameras are all now, the capabilities are all 4K. And I went through a little 4K experiment, but I decided to bring it down to 1080p because you're watching YouTube. Mostly, especially something like this, it's about the content. It's not necessarily about the presentation a lot of times. So I kind of had to rethink that and realize that, well, a lot of people, it's the lowest common denominator. So they're not going to want 4K. They're not going to click the little gear and upgrade the picture quality. They want it to look clear and like quality, but they're not going to care if it's 4K versus 1080p. So I still film in 1080p. I post in 1080p. It's a lot smaller video files than 4K. I've got a 4K TV, and so I can see some 4K stuff over streaming because it's a smart TV, which is amazing. I think technology is amazing, but I don't ever plan on getting a UHD player, UHD Blu-ray, whatever they call it, which is probably the last physical disc, the physical video format we'll ever see. What do you guys think? All right, let me blaze through the rest of the comments, and then I'm going to let you know what I've been up to with Taylor Swift. It's a record. Hearing other people talk about asking their dad's question about things makes me bummed out because I lost my dad too. I'm so sorry, Joseph. And that I know people that very well that have gone through that, and yeah. So sorry for your loss. In the 80s, I bet people bought CDs without having a player. Just look at the shininess, the novelty of CDs when they were new. Having been through that, that was I lived through that. And yes, I owned 2 CDs. I think I owned 2 CDs before, or at least 1 CD before I got my first CD player, because it was cool. I have a CD. Don't have anything to play it on yet. So that's not exclusive to the people that do that with records. But the thing was no rewinding, because rewinding sucked. And digital sound. The digital thing was a big marketing. Digital, everything digital was good. Analog was bad. Analog was the enemy. So pure digital sound and skipping was such a novelty. I remember the idea of getting to the end of your song and instantly being able to start it again was a novelty. And then accessing whatever song you wanted instantly was an incredible novelty. And they were so high-end and so revered that when I got my first personal CD player, the idea of having this technology on a personal device, with headphones and, it's yours, it's hard to describe if you weren't there. I know it's hard to describe. And I'm sure that many, many other formats yield the same feelings to people that experience them in real time. I think we got Blu-ray in 2007 or 2008. We first got Roku in 2009. It only had Netflix on it. Soul Bossa Nova by Quincy. Yep, that was the song I was thinking about. Matthew says the best and cheapest Blu-ray player in 2006-07 was a PS3. A lot of people said, I've heard that before. Joe says, I wish I could rewind time because I miss my dad a lot. Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it on CD, Out of Towners. Like the movie on DVD, right? But have you seen the soundtrack to it, Super Prince? If you do, shoot me an email. I need to look at that again. I had the original Thriller album when it first came out. Later found out it was a second pressing. Interesting. Out of Towners had a remake in 1999. Yep, and the remake was funny too, especially when Andrew Lloyd Webber robs them. But the original, if you haven't seen the original set in 1970 with, I think it's Sandy Dennis and obviously Jack Lemmon, classic. It's so good. It's so good. And it's such a vibe. It's so, if you feel, it's so 70s feeling. It's so good. It's so good. You want to see one of the best tracking shots in cinema history? The opening shot is great. It's like a helicopter. They start close in the driveway as the car's pulling out, and it's like a helicopter, and it pulls out to like maybe 100 feet as the car's driving along, but you can hear them talking inside. Meanwhile, they're still in the wide shot. It's great. So cool. I'm getting old enough to not care. Welcome to the old folks club, because that's it. The longer you're around, the less you care about what anybody thinks. The Sanyo and a Sony Blu-ray player. Didn't get HD until 2006. Yeah, from the point I was not an early adopter once I had kids and priorities. You know what I mean? Like, it just really puts things in perspective. Steve has a Oppo 203 UHD Blu-ray. I bet that's awesome, dude. I bet it really is. Clay says, yeah, it had a DVR that was built in to a digital over-the-air TV converter. But one thing we did have, so we did for a short time have Comcast service that had like a DVR service where you basically could save programs, but the DVR wasn't physical in your house. It was like a service. You know what I mean? And it's sort of a predecessor to streaming where you could kind of say, I want to watch this later, this later, this later. Then you could go watch it later, but it wasn't on a DVR device. Like Panasonic brand items. Panasonic's great. I want to get on the list eventually. I've never had a Panasonic CD player like this. They have this really cool button thing in the middle where you push down and it pops the CD up. I think that's almost all their CD players have that. Also, their MASH circuit is a really good codec. 3D TV, 2010 to 2011. Kind of reminds me of HD DVD. Remember that? There's a format war that a lot of people won't remember. Nice TV, Clay. That's really cool. Do you think they will ever bring back the stereo floor, like the component systems? I just don't think so. I really don't. Those are, right now anyway, they're super cheap. You can buy them. People are liquidating those. They're totally selling them off. I saw an MCS one listed not too long ago, and some people are selling them for like $20-$30 with the speakers. I mean, it's just crazy. 2 Panasonic plasma TVs. Oh yeah, those plasma TVs gave out heat. I remember I worked at a place that had a 32-inch plasma widescreen standard def TV. Isn't that the weirdest thing? And this is like probably 2005, 2004, 2005. It was a 32-inch widescreen standard def plasma. Very interesting. Yeah, plasma, you had to worry about burn-in and all that stuff. You have a 65-inch 4K OLED. Nice. Ivy Poison says, my grandfather has dementia. It's heartbreaking whenever he's on the phone with my mom. He'll think he's talking to one of her sisters. Oh, that is such a battle. I've been through it. I've been through it very intimately with somebody. It's heartbreaking. I've been through Alzheimer's with somebody in my family. I've been through dementia, and it's heartbreaking. It really, really is. So prayers go out to everybody battling. Everybody's got a battle. You know what I mean? That's why you should always be nice to everybody, because you don't know what they're going through. And a lot of times when people are mean to you, try to think about this specifically too when there's like a service worker. Like you go to McDonald's and you're like, is this person just being a jackweed? Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, who knows what they're going through? Plus, when you why am I going down this road? But when you are angry about something, let's say like, somebody cuts you off or whatever, you know what I mean? You're the one that harbors that, you know what I mean? It's not like, you're not like, the other person often doesn't even know. And if you start yelling at them, you're just, bringing up all negativity. So just be nice to people. It's easier. To me because CDs were the main format growing up, so I never knew a time before CDs. But that's like me and 8-tracks. I never knew 8-tracks. I can't believe I got into them. Scott says my first CD player I bought in '82. Well, you were an early adopter of CDs. Wow, $100. Wow. I love early CD players with a 16-bit codecs. I used to have a portable with a 16-bit codec. Everything I have now is either 1-bit or even newer than that. Yeah, the remake is with Steve Martin. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Cherish every moment. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was early CD days. To tweak your turntable or not, to buy aftermarket mods or not. My motto is with cars and technology, don't modify it. Don't make, I mean, and I mean like put on a platter mat you like, put on a cartridge you like. But these people that were they were surgically removing the LP 120s preamps, and yes, they did. I asked the guy, I'm like, did it really still filter the audio through the preamp when it was switched off? And he said in the early ones, yeah. So people were like, I don't want that, and they're cutting out their preamp. I wouldn't do that, even if it did cause a little bit of whatever. I'm not gonna. I don't want to do that kind of. Stay stock. Go with a better unit if you don't like that. By the way, the newer LP 120X series is a full bypass on the preamp. I don't think anybody even remembers that. But, 6-7 years ago, that was a whole thing. There was this whole story arc of the preamp that people hated in the LP 120s. An HD DVD player and a small clip. That's cool. It's a strangely modern antique format. My favorite obscure formats is RCA, CED video disc. I'm seeing more of those pop up, and it is cool. It is cool, but I'm not going to allow myself to go down that route. What is your opinion overall on the standard CD versus SACD? I think standard CDs are perfectly fine. SACDs are technically higher resolution. But even if you get DVD audio, that's probably even better than SACD or similar. SACD is cool. I don't have an SACD player that I know of. My Blu-ray players, maybe. I don't think they play it. I also don't have any SACDs. There was a Patsy Cline Greatest Hits SACD, but it's expensive, and I've got the original CD version, and I don't know if I would. I don't need that. You know what I mean? So then you got the people that like the 24-bit mastered CDs and things, and at the end of the day, it's still a 16-bit disc. But SACD though, it's a higher resolution. I think it's 96K. I think. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it's cool. I just don't. I probably won't go down that route myself. Come on, Feel the Noise plays flawless. Haven't heard of that one. CDs are video record players. It's amazing technology. And don't they spin at like 120 RPM or some crazy speed? I'm nice to customers even when I'm mad. You have to be. I mean, it's like, well, you don't have to be, but you should be. Your thoughts. Do you think physical media of all types is going to go? Eventually. It's a hard thing to say, you know what I mean? Because the mass market is always about convenience over quality. That's why MP3s were successful. That's why streaming was successful. Now, streaming has caught up to quality of physical media and the fact that it's now lossless in a lot of cases. But I think that for a lot of people, it's going to be about the convenience. And then, the people selling the stuff are going to do incentivized things like Apple Music even incentivized some exclusive content in Apple Music you can't get on physical media. Like if you want the Apple rooftop concert album of the Beatles, it's only available in streaming. You can't get it on physical media, at least not yet. Will it eventually go out of style? I don't know. But I think it would be a long time before it happened. I think what we're seeing in terms of the vinyl comeback and CDs especially, or not CDs, of cassettes too, is I think it's a resurgence. I think it's a popularity blip. I don't think that the industry as a whole is turning back to physical media. I think it's a cool thing right now, and we're riding that wave because it's right up our alley. But ultimately, it's not going to last forever. That's my opinion. Do you notice a big difference with the sound quality, Steve? That's what I wonder. Yeah, the collective aspect is amazing. Okay, so exactly, they do make money on that. Never thought film would go some point, digital audio display. And you know it's amazing. Even the distribution of film is now digital. You know, you go to a movie theater, you're not watching a film projected. You're watching a digital projector and a video file. Okay, I bought a Taylor Swift record. Do I like Taylor Swift? And this is a non-political show. No politics. This is not political. This is not political. We're talking about the artist, the music, the record. Do I like Taylor Swift music? It's okay. It's fine. I've never been like, oh, I gotta listen to that Taylor Swift song. If it comes on, the hater's gonna hate. Yeah, I like that. I'll listen to that. It's cool. My daughter liked that stuff. My wife likes it. My wife's kind of like me about that though. She's not a Swiftie, you know. I'm not. I do know a Swiftie. More power to her. And but yeah, Taylor Swift music is fine. But like certain bands, certain artists, you know, the music is fine. It's not my favorite personally, so I'm not going to go out and seek it. However, I saw that Target had a lot of custom, unique pressings. I think the one that I got was a 3 LP edition of an album. I don't even know the albums. I know the 1989 album is. I remember seeing that. Then there's like these Taylor versions because I think that she didn't have ownership of her music, and she got kind of a bum deal, and then ultimately was able to, you know, redo versions that she owned the rights to. And so I don't even know how that worked. But so you see these Taylor versions. So this album I picked up as a gift, and not that I would be opposed to having it or listening to it myself. I wouldn't. But again, it's not the first thing that I'm going to reach for. But I know somebody that it would mean a lot to, and that's why we got it. So it was a gift, and that's that. And I basically thought that would be interesting to folks because when we were walking up to the register, I'm like, I wonder what people would think if they saw this album in my hand and wondered why I had it. So that's why. That's the story behind the picture. And maybe I'll post the short. We'll have to see. I'm not sure about that. All right, let me finish up here, and then I will say good night to you all. Scott, thank you so much for jumping in. Appreciate it as always. Behind you on your shelf, is that your Pioneer turntable? No, this is my Technics SLB5. So this is my only stacker I have now. Belt drive stacker. It's beautiful. I've got a Grado Gold Prestige 2 on there. My Pioneer is off camera to my left. It's a PLX 500 in white. All right. It's been fun. I've been looking forward to this. It's been too long. I tried to do a live last week, and we were just too busy preparing for our trip, so it didn't happen. I wanted to say thank you to you guys, let you know that we're okay. A lot of people had a much harder time of it from the storm, so be praying for those guys. I pray for you guys. Do you know that? Absolutely. I want you to have a wonderful, safe, blessed week. Take care of one another and have fun. And good luck with your record hunting and stuff. Let me know what you find, what you're looking for, and all of that good stuff. If you do find a CD copy of the Out of Towner soundtrack, tell me where to get it, because I would probably go and find that. How do I like the Pioneer PLX? It's wonderful. It's basic. It's made by I can't think of that. It's the same company that makes the Audio-Technica turntables, but it's a good one. It's direct drive. It's got a VTA adjustment. It came with a metal 45 adapter, although Record-ology 3D printed 45 adapters are better. I'm running a Sumiko Black Pearl. That's a very low riding cartridge, by the way. I've got an acrylic platter mat on it, and I'm using an external Duke Audio tube preamp. It sounds great. I love it. Really good speed stability. A hint of platter wobble, nothing that would be audible, but if you are an OCD person like me, and I don't use that term lightly because that's an actual thing. There's a little bit of undulation up and down that drives me crazy, but it's not audible. But it's a great unit. It really, really is. All right, my friends. Thank you so much. Jaime, oh, you just jumped in on the end, my friend. Go back and watch the replay. We'll post the show. And I just want to say thank you to you. God bless you, each and every one of you. Happy record hunting. And we see you soon.